All right, Dallas Cowboys draft review time here. Should be a very interesting team to talk about. A lot to talk about with them. First, let me just explain what the chart you see next to me is. This is every player the Cowboys drafted. The first number is when they were drafted, then the player's name, the player's position, and finally where they were projected to go according to the consensus big board. And the kind of big quote-unquote reach that we have to talk about right away is Tyler Booker, who, is someone who was projected to be kind of a end of the first guy. They pick him at 12. And it's a bit of a weaker draft class, so you saw a lot more quote-unquote reaches this year in the first round than you typically do. He is someone who, 6'5", 325, already plays guard, is only 20 years old. Those are good things if you want a guard. The concern is, he wasn't a spectacular guard in college. Now, going up against, SEC talent, that's more difficult than other players, but you do wonder just if he has the strength to fully work at the next level. It's not as big of a jump for him as it will be for others, but there still is that issue there. Also only 20, so could get stronger. You're not gonna get much bigger, but because he's already 325, I don't think you'd want him to be bigger than that. Maybe you could just get a little bit more, strength there, and that could allow him to fill out and be a great offensive lineman. It's possible. Is it the pick I would have made there? No, but I don't think he's a bad prospect, and I think he could add some value. I also think these next couple picks are very interesting. So first, Donovan Ezeraku is the player who was supposed to go 29th according to the consensus big board. Well, they get him at 44, so that's pretty good. Someone who, played in a weaker competition, played in Boston College, but had some really good analytics and good production, unlike Booker. And Booker had good pass protecting analytics as well, but Ezeraku has really good numbers like run stop rate and pass rush win rate are very good. He was really good at the line. There were some inconsistencies game in and game out, and he wasn't the quickest player, and that's kind of the concern. Also, would take some poor angles in the run defense games. So while there are some knocks to be had on him, quite frankly, he is a fringe first-round talent that you're getting in the middle of the second round. That's good value. So even if I do have some nitpicks of his game, there's usually not going to be perfect prospects. I think he's a pretty good pick. I also think Siobhan Revel Jr. is a really interesting pick. So he's out of East Carolina. Kind of his story was he was working in an Amazon warehouse. Hey, I've not worked in an Amazon warehouse, but I've worked in a warehouse before. So, shout out to all the warehouse workers watching this video. But he is someone who, the athletic profile is awesome. I mean, he's 6'3" and ran a 4.4 at the combine after working a shift at the Amazon at an Amazon warehouse. That's ridiculous, right? That's just crazy. Coming off an ACL injury, and quite frankly, he has other injury history, and that's the concern, is if another injury happens, are you lighting a pick on fire? There's some other nitpicks I have. He'll sometimes give up too much space and coverage, things like that, but ultimately, for pick 76, getting a guy who was projected to be an early second rounder, some thought could even slide into the first, that's just great value. So yeah, that's a pick I really like. I also like Jaden Blue, who is, he's a track star. He is one of the faster players in this class. He has that, and he can accelerate quickly as well. Some of the track guys can't quite accelerate as quickly as you would think. He can do that. So, is someone who could be a really good player for them. They elect not to spend a premium pick on running back, but still address the position, and he is someone who could help out. So again, I know everyone pays attention to the first round pick exclusively, but for me, as someone who's been critical of some of the Dallas Cowboys drafts over the years, I actually kind of like what they ended up with these first handful of picks. They then went after Shamar James, a linebacker who's just this incredible athlete who has yet to figure out how to play football, basically. And so at pick 152, well, at this point, let's just draft a guy who we hope we can develop. And if we can figure it out, well, now we have this great linebacker. There's a world where he ends up being a Pro Bowl caliber player. That exists. That's possible. The question is, if he just doesn't figure it out, well, then he's not. The good news about someone like James, should be able to play special teams as well because of the athleticism. So you get that other bump. You don't usually draft someone at pick 152 for special teams. Usually you save that for the 200s, but it's a nice addition to the player you're getting, right? Then they decided to select a Johnny Cornelius in the with pick 204, projected to go a little earlier than that. He's a guy who's 6'5", 315, not the fastest player in the world, not the best footwork in the world. So you're just getting a depth player here. You're not expecting him to grow into a starter, but should be a player who can at least play. At pick 217, they selected Jay Toya, interior defensive lineman, who certainly looks the part to be a good run-stuffing interior defensive lineman. Has yet to really get the production you would hope for, though, so that's something that you're hoping you can, figure out at some point, I would say. And then they selected another running back here, Phil Mafia, here. So again, they need depth here at this position. They don't just need a starter. So, this could be that. I think, people speculated he could be a third down back, perhaps, and also will probably play special teams, which is kind of where he's, now you're drafting special teams guys, and that, he could probably do that. Finally, they drafted Tommy A. We'll just leave it at that. And listen, you're almost at the end of the draft at this point. Only like 10 players were selected after him. Was projected to go, wasn't projected to go. He was the 350th ranked prospect, so wasn't projected to get drafted, but congratulations to him. He does. Did post a very nice pass rush win rate, one of the best, kind of at the top of his class for interior defensive linemen, although the pass rush PFF grade, for example, still good, but definitely a chunk lower. So, usually, hey, listen, I know everyone likes to make fun of PFF grades, but that does do a very good job at translating to the next level. Guys who are good at that tend to be good at that at the next level. Guys who aren't good at it tend to not be good at it at the next level. But still, hey, there's some intrigue here with a pick this late. Why not see if you can get something there? So ultimately, as a whole, like these late picks, I think they took some interesting flyers. The early picks, I thought they did a really good job at maximizing value. And they had one pick that I thought was just a bit of a reach early on. Just unfortunately, that was their first round pick. But I still think they could get a pretty good player, right? Like, if you remember when the Raiders had their draft where they selected Alex Leatherwood in the first round, like, that ended up being bad because Alex Leatherwood just wasn't even good to begin with. At least here, okay, I could see a world where, like, oh, yeah, the next, like, 6 guys end up being better than Booker. But, he could be pretty good. And also, like I has to mention, the Cowboys have done this before and succeeded. Tyler Smith was a quote-unquote reach, and they were able to figure him out. And I think if Booker can get a little stronger, he could end up being one of those guys as well. Maybe there's just a technique thing that they spot where if you can allow him to get a little bit more power, that can be something that can cause him to be a complete player. It's possible. It really is. So ultimately, yeah, I don't really hate this draft. I think it's kind of underrated. But again, people pay so much attention to the first round, but did some nice things throughout the rest of the draft. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.